If you're looking for the best solo build right now in Throne and Liberty, by far the easiest way to get to level 50 to farm gear or materials in open world dungeons or to dominate the game's secret tower dungeon, then this is the build for you. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Hack, and this is my version of Throne and Liberty's Paladin build. This combines the Greatsword with the Wand for an insane damage and survivability combo. It's going to be great for any type of content, but especially playing solo in the game, as I said, because it combines a tank with a healer with a DPS all in one simple package. And it's a lot of fun to play too, so let's get right into it. Alright, so let's start this build off talking about stats and gear. Now, in terms of your attributes, first I would definitely recommend pumping your stats into strength. The main reason you want to do this, obviously it gives you more damage, but also this is your survivability stat, so it's going to give you a lot more max health, which is going to be great for soloing, as we talked about with this build. Even if you want to jump into some tanking, strength is the best stat for you. So pump that up to 30 first, and then after you get to 30 strength, you'll want to go to 30 wisdom next. This is going to buff your max mana, but also your mana recovery, which is really good. It also buffs your damage as well. So the fact that we are, reliant on heals, mana pool, mana recovery, very important for this build. And then your final stats, you can really do what you want with those. You could split those between dexterity and perception. I went all in with perception, mainly for the CC effects and the stun chance. This also buffs your max damage, which is really good. So I put the rest into perception. You could go dexterity, or like I said, you could split between the two of those. Now, in terms of gear, I'm not even fully geared up yet on this character. Obviously, I just hit level 50. The good thing about this build is that it's really not gear dependent. Your skills are so strong that you can have, blue and even some green quality gear that you just picked up from the main story, and the build is still incredibly strong. So the main thing you'll want is your Greatsword to be highest level possible in whatever tier you're at. I do like the Broadsword of Resistance. This gives you max health and critical chance, which is really good, plus stun chance. Offhand, obviously, is the Wand, and you do want this upgraded as high as possible. This is going to help a little bit with making your heals more powerful. But also look at the stats that your Wand has and try to get some with the best stats possible, the extra bonuses. This one actually has max health and max mana, so I'm getting over 1,000 for each of those two stats, which is really good. And even though this is my secondary weapon that I'm not, light attacking with, I still get the bonus stats on my stat sheet. So that's something to keep an eye out for when you're picking out your secondary wand. Now, in terms of armor, like I said, the armor that you can get from the main story quest is actually perfect for this build. It's called Armor of the Resistance. Now, once you complete the main story, you'll get this purple chest piece, which is really good. I don't have it all the way upgraded yet, but it's giving us max health and melee evasion, plus a lot of really good armor values. Some ranged evasion on the trait is what I got. So yeah, this is all around a really good set to work on picking up. You'll also get the blue armor pieces from the main story, the different, quests along the way. So you can get the visor, greaves, you can get the boots and the gauntlets as well. So I have the full resistance set pretty much. So the main story is going to take care of that for you. You'll also get a really good ring during the main story. Rutane's Ring of Wonder. This gives me even more max health, plus a ton of melee defense. So this is really good as well, just for making the build more tanky. But you'll really just need to fill in your other accessory slots. So you can fill these in with crafted gear if you want to, or anything else that you manage to pick up along the way. So yeah, that is the basic setup in terms of stats and gear choices. All right, let's talk about skills next, and this is where things get a lot more complicated. Keep in mind, I do have a written guide for this that I'm working on. Link will be down below in the description and the pinned comment, so you can see more of a written breakdown of all the skills and the passives, and even the skill specialization, which is really important for this build, by the way. It makes it a lot stronger when we look at the specific specialization options that I picked for these skills. So yeah, starting with the defensive skill here, I chose the Greatsword defensive, but it's not a huge difference in terms of which one you choose, whether it's Greatsword or Wand, just like the little bit of extra damage I can get with a Greatsword parry. So yeah, Iron Point parry is the choice there. But we can talk about the healing skills next. So I'm using controller, obviously. I have all of these on my right bumper, so that's kind of how I like to work it out. So I have the defensive and the healing skills, basically with one set of buttons. And then I have a couple of different offensive combos with my other set of buttons. So that works out really well on controller. If you're playing with a controller or you're playing on console, obviously, this build works really well. But starting here at the top, Time for Punishment. This is actually our main debuff. So it's going to lower the target's skill resistance for 9 seconds. It also is a curse. So basically you want to start every fight with Time for Punishment because it's going to lower their damage resistance. All of your skills will do more damage. When we talk about specialization, I also have a increased duration on the skill just because I want it active on the target as much as possible to lower their armor. Pretty simple. Our main heal is Swift Healing. You get this right early in the game, so it is really helpful. Now keep in mind with this skill, at base, you can use it up to 2 times in a row. And then with specialization, you can use it up to 3 times. So you are going to be sort of chain casting this. And you also want to upgrade this as much as you can, especially early, because it does have really good scaling. You can see I'm over 500% base damage, plus 174, and that's an epic quality. So the sooner that you can upgrade this, the better, because you're going to be using this a lot, especially early on, until you get your main passive heal, which is at level 50, and that's Fountain of Life. This is a ground-based heal, so you can use it for yourself, you can use it for group content as well, and this is just really good for passive healing. You just stand in it, and you'll be healed back to full pretty much. Now, since we are talking about healing, Da Vinci's Courage, this comes from the Greatsword skill line, but that's going to be sort of our other passive heal. It increases our max health, our health recovery, and our attack speed by 15%, so it's a nice buff as well. I increased its duration too through the specialization options. But basically you can pair Da Vinci's Courage with the heal over time for Fountain of Life, and that's kind of your passive healing on this build when you're just fighting enemies and you don't have to think about. And then if you need more burst healing, you're going to switch over to Swift Healing, chain cast that. And then we also have a really nice defensive skill, Invincible Wall. This is basically a damage shield, so that's going to absorb the damage that you take for 6 seconds. So that's sort of the defensive rotation. Now, in terms of damage, that's obviously going to come pretty much entirely from the Greatsword. Now, Precision Dash I haven't even really upgraded it because this is just more like utility. This is a gap closer, gets you in close to a target, can cast it up to twice, but the damage is not super high, so I'm not going to really even cast this in a rotation. Once I'm in melee range, I'm just going to use my other skills. But that includes Valiant Brawl, so this is kind of a main DPS skill. It has the shortest cooldown in terms of those Greatsword skills, very low cost to cast this, and basically you just weave this into your rotation whenever it's off of cooldown. It's a really good DPS style skill. Next up is Stunning Blow, very useful skill for the ability to stun enemies. You can buff this. We'll talk about the specialization in a minute. But the fact that this gives a, on-demand stun, you can combine this with other abilities. One of those is going to be our next skill, Death Blow. This deals a lot of base damage, but against stun targets, the damage is increased by 30%. So the basic combo, and you unlock this super early, is Stunning Blow into Death Blow to get that bonus stunned damage. And then once you unlock skill specialization at level 15, you can increase this an extra 100% with charging. So basically, you change it from an instant cast skill into a 1-second charge. The longer you charge it, the more damage it does. Super effective, especially in the early game. We already talked about Da Vinci's Courage. And then our next really big, like our main damaging ability, you'll unlock this at level 50 as well. Guillotine Blade, this deals a ton of damage. You can see 630 base damage, but it deals even more damage to prone or shocked targets. So how do we get prone or shocked? We get that from Ascending Slash. So you can see here the damage is a little bit low, but it has an 80% chance to inflict collision prone, again, against bound, sleeping, or stunned targets. And then we have one more stun in our toolkit that's going to be Devastating Smash. So this is also a gap closer, really fun to use. You jump into the air, you slash down with the Greatsword. Again, not a ton of damage, but it is AoE, and you have a chance to stun the target for 2 seconds. You can increase that chance and effect duration with specialization, by the way. But you can see how those 3 skills line up as well. So you combo Devastating Smash for the stun. If an enemy is stunned, they can be set prone with Ascending Slash. Prone basically means that you knock down the target. And then if the target is knocked down, Guillotine Blade does even more bonus damage. So that's sort of our second combo that you can do. That's Smash into Ascending Slash into Guillotine Blade. So that is all the skills that I have slotted here. Again, if you want to see those more in detail or you just want to reference this, I do have a written guide for that. Check the link down below to access that. But next we can talk about the passives. And what I've done here is I've gone from what I think is the best to the least best, not the worst, because I didn't slot the worst ones. But I went from best to the least best in terms of the 8 passives that you can slot on this build. Again, combining Greatsword with the wand passives. I'm using more Greatsword because, I want this build to be a little bit more offensive. It's not a healer build. It's more of like a solo or overland build. So starting with Robust Constitution. This is actually the first passive you get from Greatsword. It's really good. Increases your max health and health regen. So this is just basic, flat stats that are going to make your build stronger. Get this, start leveling it up right away. Next up, we have Devotion and Emptiness. This comes from the Wand skill line. This is the second passive you get from the Wand. This gives you a ton of healing, you guys, and reduces your cooldowns. So increases healing by 22% and decreases cooldowns by 10%. Obviously, you can level that up further. Plus, during the nighttime, your skill damage increases by 22% and decreases curse skill cooldowns by 10% at night. So that would affect our time for punishment debuff. So pretty much whatever time of day, you're going to get a really nice buff from this. I prefer the daytime buff, though, just to be honest. And next up is Victor's Morale. This is the 4th passive that you get from Greatsword. Dealing damage with the skill restores 9 health and 20 mana. Doesn't apply to damage over time effects. That's okay, we don't have any. This is just straight up passive healing and mostly mana recovery. So this is going to help a lot with sustain, giving you some mana back. Next up, Raging Frenzy. This is the 5th passive from Greatsword. This increases your skill damage by 50 when 3 or more targets are within a 5-meter radius. So basically, if you're trying to get through dungeons, public dungeons, things like that, where you're bound to get jumped by multiple enemies. I'm telling you, it just happens. Like, it happens all the time. It's going to help you kill that initial enemy faster so you can deal with the group more easily. Next up, Indomitable Armor. This is the last passive that you get from Greatsword. Taking damage grants you a 25% chance to increase your defenses by 140 for 2 seconds, and it can stack up to 3 times. So this is just really good passive damage resistance. Next up, Wraith's Beacon, I guess. This is the 3rd passive from Wand. It increases your curse duration by 2 seconds, as well as curse chance. So this is going to apply to that time for punishment. Again, that armor debuff that we want to have on the target as long as possible. 2 extra seconds there is really helpful. Next up, Noble Revival. This is the 5th passive from the Wand. This just flat out increases your healing. 2% per 1,000 max mana. We have about 7,000, 8,000, again, just with blue and purple quality gear. So that's going to translate to 15% extra healing done. This actually should probably be higher on the list of passives. It's really good. Again, dependent on your max mana that you have on the build. And then last but not least, I couldn't really find a great number 8 passive, so this is totally flexible. Vital Force, though, this increases your hit chance and stun chance per 100 of max health. You saw with the skills how both of our combos really are reliant on stuns. So anytime on this build, you can increase your stun chance. That's a really good thing to do. But those are our 8 passives. And then just really quick, in terms of weapon mastery, you can see I'm still working on this. Weapon mastery is probably the longest thing that takes the longest to level in Throne and Liberty. But I did sort of figure out which route that I want to take. So for Greatsword, I'm going with the Incapacitate route. And again, that's mostly for like setting up my stuns. In solo content, it is really effective, so you'll get like extra stun chance, extra stun duration, and then reduction to cooldown speed. So yeah, I think just looking at these 3 options for this particular build, Incapacitate is the best. Now in terms of the Wand Mastery, these are all actually kind of similar, so I don't think it makes a huge difference in terms of which route you take. I did do Weaken, that's what I'm focused on right now, so it's going to increase mana cost efficiency, increased curse duration, that's going to be really good for us. And then skill boost chance, I'm not actually even sure what that is. But like I said, the Wand weapon mastery, I think, is very similar for each route that you take. So you can feel free to play around with that. All right, so I promised I'd talk about skill specialization, and this is really what makes the build super powerful. Let's actually start with the Wand specialization because it's a lot simpler. So the first thing you probably want to buff is Swift Healing, okay? So couple of options in Swift Healing are really good. Healing Transfers basically gives you a secondary heal. So you get your first heal, and then you'll get a second heal on top of that. So it actually heals for quite a bit more. You can, let me show you really quick, actually. So you see how I got 2 heals at the same time? Let me do it again with the full. If you chain cast this, you have to do it quickly within like a second. Otherwise, it's going to go on cooldown. So watch how I get 2 heals for each one. Okay, so it does really add up. It's really helpful. So I do recommend that one. Now, the other one I talked about, consecutive use, this is what gives you that third heal. It is a little bit expensive, 7 points for this, but it is nice. Then Time for Punishment, really simple. We're just increasing the effect duration so that we get that debuff on the target for longer if possible. And then Fountain of Life, I think these are really helpful once you get to this skill. It is a level 50 skill, but you get the extra mana recovery. And then an extra 2 seconds is really big on this skill. That actually translates to about 4 heal ticks because it ticks every 0.5 seconds. Okay, so that's the wand specials. And then in terms of Greatsword, this is where you can make this build a lot more powerful. Without the skill specializations, the build is kind of bland, but this is really what does it for me. So Stunning Blow, this is like a really effective skill already, but you can do stuff like reduce the cooldown, increase the damage of your next skill, 150%, as long as you use that skill in 5 seconds. We'll talk about that in a second. And then I have increased stun duration. So remember that combo that we talked about, Stunning Blow into Death Blow, that's where you get even more damage from this. And then with Death Blow, really good early on charge damage. For 5 skill points, you get 100% bonus damage from this skill by charging it for just 1 second. And then I do recommend cooldown reduction as well. 15% is pretty good for 5 points. Da Vinci's Courage, you can do a lot of interesting things with this. I just have the duration increase, but you could also do damage reduction. It's not a lot of damage reduction, but it is kind of interesting to make the skill more of a buff and not just a heal. You could also do instant healing. I did sort of test this, but I didn't come to any conclusions what was better, the health recovery or the instant heal. I just left it as more recovery focused since I do tend to stack this with Fountain of Life. And then these last 3 skills, this is our big damage combo, right? So I've got some good specialization here. Actually, let's start with the Devastating Smash skill since this is first of the combo. So increase the stun chance, that's good. Increase the stun duration, that's very good. Then we're going to combo that, remember, into Ascending Slash. So here I did damage increase, and this is where you can combo this obviously with Guillotine. So you're going to get a bonus to the damage of Guillotine as long as you use it within the next 5 seconds, which you should. And then this increases the duration of Prone as well. And then for Guillotine Blade, we've got cooldown reduction. That's just an obvious one. That's great for 3 points. And then this one is really big. So the damage increases up to 100% proportional to the charging time. So this is exactly like Death Blow, except the damage is so much more. You'll get, about twice the damage on Guillotine versus Death Blow once you max that out at level 50. Yeah, so that's all the skill specialization. Like I said, the build really comes into its own when you start specializing. So I'll have a list of these in the written guide as well, just if you need to review those. Okay, so let's go over a few of those combos that I talked about when going over the skills, just to kind of pull everything together and see how it all works. So I'm going to grab an enemy here. I'm in the level 50 public dungeons, one of them. So you want to start combat always with Time for Punishment. Remember, that's our skill damage debuff. You can use that to bring an enemy in. From there, you can also use your gap closer if you want. And then we're going to do our first basic combo, which is a Stunning Blow into a Death Blow. That's our main damage combo there. Go ahead and refresh that debuff. We can set down our heal if we want, as well as Da Vinci's Courage. So we got that passive healing going. You can see it's going right back up. Second combo, going to be Smash into Ascending Slash, and then Guillotine. Now, I didn't get the max damage there because my prone status effect didn't go off, but when it does, that's where you get huge damage. So health is getting a little bit low. We can use that other Swift heal Remember, you can chain 3 of those together with the bonus healing. Fountain of Life is ready again. And we'll go ahead and do our stun to death blow combo. Make sure we do that skill debuff. Da Vinci's Courage is up. Here's the other combo with Smash. That time I got the prone to go off, so I should get a bigger... There you can see about 8k damage on the combo that time when all the status effects go off. Go ahead and heal back up. And there you go. Really, really simple. All right, everybody, with that said, that's going to wrap up our first Throne and Liberty build called the Paladin. Hope you guys enjoyed this and you found it helpful. If you did, do me a favor, crush that like button. It absolutely helps. Lets YouTube know to share this video with others, so that is much appreciated. As I mentioned, I did create a written guide to go along with this. So that's going to list everything from the gear set options to stats, skills, including alternative skills you might want to check out before level 50, and of course all the specialization, passives, everything else. So definitely check that out if you're interested in making this build yourself. You want to follow along. But that's it for this one. If you'd like to see more Throne and Liberty builds, definitely check out the video coming up next. That's where I have my entire list. If you'd like to see detailed guides for any more builds, let me know those down in the comments section as well. And thanks again for watching.